It's day 1 of the Spookydelic Drawing Challenge. Today's prompt is pumpkin. First thing I did was sketch out a composition for my pumpkin with lots of creepy, wriggling vines. My camera is a bit overexposed at the moment, but you'll see this better once I start inking. I really like to incorporate symmetry into my art, but I don't like when the image is perfectly mirrored. Instead, I like to do something I like to call asymmetrical symmetry, which is where each half of the composition is symmetrically balanced, but the details in each half vary slightly from one another. This keeps the image from becoming stagnant and is far more visually interesting to the eye. To add a creepy factor to this piece, I've also incorporated a human-like skull with 3 eye sockets into the pumpkin. Next, I grabbed some pens with varying line weights to outline the sketch. It's very important when doing line work to vary your line weight. This helps create a hierarchy of detail and also helps your art look less flat and two-dimensional. Now it's time to add in some shadows. For this pumpkin, I'm going for a very stark, graphic-like treatment, like something you would see in a graphic novel. Now, they say never to use black in your art, but this advice really only applies to realism painting. Personally, I love using black in my work, and I would say it's become a staple of my color palette. Now, I'm laying down some block colors of yellow for the pumpkin and light green for the vines. The yellow marker is actually a Crayola marker, and say what you will about a crayon company, but their inks are honestly pretty good and provide super nice coverage. Then, going in with some darker oranges, reds, and greens, I began adding in some more values and saturation to the pumpkin. I wanted the eyes to look super scary, so I decided not to give them any pupils, and instead went with this solid pink, Deadite-like look from the Evil Dead movie. Little by little, I just added in a couple more details, which doesn't seem like much now, but mind you, this drawing took a little over 3 hours to complete. To add to the trippy nature of the image, I also added in these glass-like orbs, which I colored orange to kind of balance out the pumpkin a little bit. And now, it's time to fill in the background. I'm using brush pens, which really aren't intended for filling in large areas, but you gotta work with what you got. This part probably took the longest, and I had to periodically switch between 3 different pens to keep the brushes from drying out too quickly. But overall, I love how this turned out. So last but not least, I added in my signature and a few minor details for texture. And voila, a Spookydelic pumpkin.